needed to be addressed. And so I want to open with actually the cousin of the author that you did the poem from, Barley. This is also unknown. Just cousin. It's a girl. Today is for fathers. It is for the grandfathers, the uncles, the brothers, the friends, and the sons, the most important man in anyone's life, the one who gave us life. Here's to you, the dads who play endless games of go fish with their kids and always let them win, and those who always played to win every time, thinking that their children would grow stronger through defeat. This is for the fathers who worked in fields and factories, taught in classrooms, or sat in office cubicles 8 long hours a day. Here's to those who performed life-saving surgery and those who drove their truck through long days and nights. Here's to those who loved every minute of their labor and to those who only worked so their families could survive. To the sleepless dads who have waited in silent fear that their babies wouldn't make it through the night or their teenagers survived their first time driving alone. Those who lost children and those who found them in different ways. Here's to tears not shed and hugs not given for fear of appearing weak. Here's to dads who build with hammer and saw and those who wouldn't know how. The fathers who are afraid of spiders and yet can slay a great dragon of fear in his little one's room. The fathers who tried and those who didn't. The fathers who gave us life and walked away. And those who stayed long past the life of their marriage to give something to their children. The fathers who hurt because their children have been kept from them. And those who are both father and mother. Stay-at-home dads and stay-away dads. And the one we wanted but never knew. The helpless, hurting father and the brave, strong one. And for all of the ways of fatherhood. Here's to you, Dad. You know, some of us had great dads, and some not so much. I was one of the lucky ones. I had 2 dads. I had the one who gave me life and the one who gave me love. I was adopted. I've never met my birth father. I've met my birth mother, but I've never met my birth father. But I hit the jackpot on my adopted father. He was, without a doubt, the best. And I know some of you had the best, but sorry, mine was the best. And for those of you who didn't have that experience, even though my dad's been gone 25 years now, his energy lives on, and I hope and pray that it lives through me. I learned a lot from him, and I'm hoping I picked up his best traits. And so, since he can't ever really be gone, if you didn't have that kind of dad, I'm more than happy to share mine. In a few moments, I want to share a familiar prayer with a more mystical, metaphysical interpretation, similar to what I did last week. But this particular one is going to illustrate that kind of loving parent that I'm talking about, the kind that I had, that I was lucky enough to have. And this prayer also represents the union of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. It becomes the divine parent. In Mother's Day, we focus on the divine feminine, which is all about receptivity and nurturance. And today we focus on the divine masculine, which focuses on the creative urge, being the cause of creation, the cause of life. Can't really have one without the other, you need them both. But today we look at father, and we look at what happens through that. Father, mother, child. Seed, soil, plant. Creative idea, receptivity, new experience. Now, last week we looked at Ecclesiastes with new eyes as a way to guide us in this practice of spiritual living. And today, I want to look at the Lord's Prayer with new eyes as a guide for spiritual living. And I particularly want to look at the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer. Aramaic was the language that Jesus spoke. And I want to look at in that prayer how it talks about the union of the divine feminine and the divine masculine to come together as that divine loving parent. So I'll start, though, with the traditional Lord's Prayer that many of us had to learn by rote so that we passed our religious classes, our catechism class, or whatever it was. So most of you will recognize this one. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. You remember that one? You know, I have to say that one bugged me as a kid. First of all, I did not find it inspiring. I'm not sure I knew the word inspiring as a kid when I had to memorize that, but I did not find it uplifting. In fact, it kind of scared me a little. I thought, which God is it that's going to lead us into temptation? Who is that guy? But that's odd. So I've explored a little deeper. I want to recite to you that prayer, the Lord's Prayer, in Aramaic. You won't understand the language. That's okay. I don't want you to, because I don't want your head in this particular part of the game. I want your heart there. So if it feels comfortable, close your eyes, and I'm going to recite the Aramaic Lord's Prayer. Just feel the vibration of it. You don't need to know what the words are, because they're not what I just read, I guarantee you. They're way deeper than that. So just feel them. Feel the vibration. Avun de Boshmaya, Net Kadesh Shema, Tepe Malkuta, Nehwe Svehyana Ikana de Bashmaya Avbaha, Havlan Lakma de Sunkanan Yakmana, Washpoklan Kaubain, Waktahin Ikana, Dafkanan Shwokan Lakayabain, Wela Haklan, Lenisyuna, Ela Patsan Miyisha, Metol Delakai, Malkuta Wahela, Watashbukta, Lalam Almin Amen. I don't know about you, but that gives me godbumps. That just gives me chills. The first time I ever heard it, I was so taken with it, and I had no idea what it said. Except I did. I felt it. I felt inspired and uplifted and empowered in ways that the King James Version of the Lord's Prayer didn't do much for me. Now let me give you the translation interpretation of the Lord's Prayer from that Aramaic language. And trust me, this is one of the best guides for spiritual living you'll ever come across. And it also talks about the divine parent. Our Father, Mother of the cosmos, birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where your presence can abide. Focus your light within us. Make us useful. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of our purpose. Create your reign of unity now. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desire. Your one desire then acts with ours, as in all light, so in all forms. Grant what we need each day in bread and insight. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Loose the cords of mistakes binding us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes and release the strands we hold of others' guilt. Don't let surface things delude us, but free us from what holds us back. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. From you is born all ruling will, the power and the life to do the song that beautifies all. From age to age it renews. For you are the ground and the fruitful vision, the birth, the power, and the fulfillment, as all is gathered and made whole once again. Truly, power to these statements. May they be the ground from which all my actions flow. Amen. A little bit different.
Yeah.
and you wonder if it seemed like the Aramaic was a little shorter. All of those words have many meanings, and so each word is packed with like a sentence. Very powerful. You know, we're working on a new website, and I'll tell you what, because I'm guessing that some people might want that. We'll make sure it goes up on the website and then or in the blog. Kimberly's helping me with that, so we'll make sure you have access to that prayer. Because I guarantee you, that alone would be such a powerful spiritual practice. You just take a line of that every day and really embrace and embody and express that. It's very powerful, very powerful. So this prayer, as I've just read it, is not an attempt to become one with Spirit. It's not an attempt at all. No trying. Who said that? Yoda, I think, right? Said there's no trying. There's just being. So this prayer is our very expression and recognition of oneness with Spirit. We don't need to work to become one with Spirit. We simply need to recognize it, be it, embody it, embrace it, express it. We are God's children. We are the expression of Spirit on earth in human form. We're created in the image and likeness of Spirit and given the opportunity for full expression of that. Of all of those qualities and attributes that are Spirit, we each contain all of that. And the more that we nurture it, the more we bring it forth. Abun Devashmaya, our Father, Mother, God, birther, which creates the cosmos. Abun, Abba. It means Papa, loving parent. Not Papa in the sense of masculine, but Papa in the sense of loving parent. Abun, Abba, has no gender. It simply is love, loving parent. And so it invites us to approach God directly and intimately in a loving and compassionate way, as a loving and compassionate parent. So if you thought you didn't have a loving and compassionate parent, you do. Abun, Abba, Papa. We must become as little children and have a direct one-on-one communion with our divine parent. The emphasis in this prayer is on Spirit being a caring, guiding, loving, providing parent. One that cares about and loves all of his children, even the ones who have gone astray. Also reminds me of my dad. My oldest brother was like an angel. He was like our third parent. My youngest brother, who's a little bit older than me, actually a lot older than me, but he's in the middle. He went the opposite direction. If he could screw it up, he did. He pushed the envelope. In fact, there was no envelope for him, right? And I'm smart enough to watch all of this. I'm like, angel, boring. Pushing the envelope, dangerous. Okay, I'll go right to the edge of the envelope. But Dad loved us anyway, even when we pushed outside the envelope. Just as that loving parent, Abun, Abba, Papa, loves us, all of us. And it guides us in this practice of spiritual living. It guides us in healing through things like what happened in Orlando. It guides us through, yes, forgiving. Seems hard to think about that right now. But it will guide us through forgiving. It will guide us into prayer, yes, even for those who feel so disenfranchised and so separated that it seems okay to kill other people. It will guide us to that understanding. God, Abba, Papa, benevolent, kind, good Father. That good Father who wants good and wants the best for all of us. You can turn to that Father, Mother, God, Spirit, anytime and always, no matter what. You know, I knew that about my dad. I knew that I could have been like the worst kid in the universe, and I knew he always had my back, he always loved me. I could always be the bright light in his eye. It's good to know. It's a good thing to know. It helps to guide us onto a path that's more fruitful. To guide us into that place where we acknowledge, accept, embrace, and embody that loving, giving, parental presence. Lo, I am with you always. I am with you always. Ever available through our simple recognition and awakening and opening to that possibility and to that presence, attuning ourselves to that loving presence, then we too become one with the loving parent, that divine parent. We become it, whether we're parents of actual children or not. You know, some of us are the parents of actual kids. Some of us are the parents of little furry kids. Some of us are the parents of just kids we see driving by when we're in traffic. Some of us are the loving parents of just kids in general. Some of us are the loving parents of one another. We too can take on those attributes, attune to that parental loving presence. And we open ourselves to all of the good that our loving parent desires to give to us. It's already been given, open to receive it. And as we receive it, we become it. Then we be it. You know, in most families, I think this is a fairly accurate generalization. In most families, the mother is the heart of the family and the dad is the head of the family. My family was quite the opposite. My mom was clearly the head, the very intellectual, and my dad was the heart. He was the heart space. You know, which was ironic because he was very masculine. He was even an army guy. And you know, he'd seen the ugliness of war. But he was such a gentle soul. His heart was not damaged beyond repair from that. He was so gentle and so generous and so loving and so giving to so many people, not just me. And so I'm going to ask your indulgence for just a moment as I share some memories as a bit of a tribute to my dad, because he reminds me of that Abba, Papa. He reminds me of that energy. In fact, when I was a little kid, I used to think of when I pictured God, and I often pictured myself walking hand in hand with God. And I was reminded of it by walking hand in hand with my dad. And so that's one of my earliest memories, walking hand in hand with my dad with my tiny little hand in his big, soft, warm hand. I always felt so safe, so special walking that way. I learned when I was like 6 years old that tears of love and joy are as bountiful, maybe more bountiful and more powerful than tears of sorrow. My dad was in Vietnam before any Americans had ever heard of Vietnam. And he was there for a year, and he came back, and we went to the airport to pick him up. And my mom, right before it's time for him to come through, customs, she says, oh, I can't see him, I have to go to the women's room. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm gonna cry. I'm like, cry? That's the craziest thing I ever heard. You know, I was like, what? This is wonderful, Dad's coming home. I didn't understand that people cried when they were happy, right? When they were emotional. And I'm like, adults are so weird, right? So I see my dad coming through customs, and as soon as I saw him, man, I busted through customs, and I leaped up and grabbed him and held on to his neck tight as can be and burst into tears. And I'm like, Daddy, I'm crying! And the next thing I knew, so was he. And that's when I learned that tears of joy are so powerful. And after he got back, boy, I was like Velcro to him. I went with him everywhere. And in fact, my mom had planned a very, sort of a romantic husband and wife thing at a nice resort. They left very shortly. Car pulls back in the driveway, and my dad says, get your things, come on, you're coming with us. That'll set a romance on fire, won't it? I was 6-year-old with you. But he couldn't stand to leave me there, so I got to go. And, I went everywhere. I went to the gas station with him, I went to the store, all of those things. He also taught me about moderation. He picked one day a week that we got to go to the store and I got to pick out a candy. It was candy day. And let me tell you, I knew exactly what it was. Every week. When I started playing the flute, he's the one who drove me to all my lessons, all the recitals, all the competitions, and he was always right there in the front row, smiling and nodding with pride. And sometime after he died, my brothers and I were sitting around talking, and the subject came up. Oh, we were looking at pictures. We saw a picture of me at a flute recital. And my youngest brother said, "You know, he was tone deaf." I'm like, "What?" I'm devastated. I mean, that's like being colorblind in your ears. I'm like, "Oh God, you never really heard the music." And my brother, this is my least enlightened, touchy-feely, sensitive brother, says, "Don't you get it? He didn't come there for the music, he came for you." That was the music he came for, me. I saw him be compassionate with a man who had really done my father wrong, who had really done some egregious things. But my father was loving and compassionate and took care of the man when he had a physical ailment that prevented him from doing much for himself. My dad took care of him. I was angry. I was mad. I was mean to the man. And my dad sat me down and talked to me about love and compassion and forgiveness. I thought, gosh, you must be some kind of saint. I don't know how you do it, but I want to learn. When I graduated from college, my parents came out for the graduation ceremony, and you know, I was a smart. What do you? I can't say that here. Smarty pants. I can say that. But smarty pants because after all, I was a college graduate, and I did something and said something very disrespectful to my mother. It was a few times ever in my life that my dad got truly angry at me because he loved my mother so much. Even when, in my opinion, she didn't deserve it. And I thought, wow, that really says something. I need to pay attention to that. He was so protective. And I learned not to be so judgmental. And then finally, when my father was dying, he turned to me and he said, "I am so very proud of all the things you've done, but most of all, I'm proud of who you've become." That has sustained me in his absence. Lo, he is with me always. And so if you didn't have a dad like that, I'm sharing mine with you. The greatest gift, from the other cousin of unknown, the greatest gift I ever had came from God, and I call him Dad. And as the poet Anne Sexton said, it doesn't matter who my father was, it matters who I remember he was. And that's who I remember. And so I want to close with the lessons in spiritual living and in love and forgiveness that the Aramaic Lord's Prayer and that my dad taught me. From that prayer, and also from Dad. Spirit is a loving parent. And God is the source of all good. And Spirit is always for us, never against us. Always for us. We are God's children, Spirit's very expression on this planet. And as God's children, we can receive all of the good and all of the love that God gives us. We can receive all that we can stand. So open your hearts, open up, receive it. Spirit is in us, above us, under us, all around us, through us. Spirit is us. We are Spirit. And finally, I and the Father are one. We are one. One. Simply one. Expressing in a multitude of ways and forms. And isn't it beautiful that we do? Blessings on your journey of spiritual living. So yes.